Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a very belated and super special episode brought to you by Brohacks Productions.
It's a little bit sad, but it's a little bit
on
cool
a somber note, yeah. On a somber note, we've kind of come to the conclusion that after 2 years to the day, since our last Prophecy of the Immortals video, it's probably time to admit the fact that we're probably not going to come back to this. I think we've left it too long, and you know, issues that were out of our control delayed some of the episodes, my PC breaking and then all that rigmarole to get a new one, and then after that kind of lost the flair for it, and then it just kind of everything got put to the back burner and life got in the way.
Things were still being made on it, but
we've come back to
the
it. The
will
yeah.
and intent to take it further, I guess, died with time.
Yeah, yeah. So what we thought we'd do is we'd give you a guided tour of some of the parts that you didn't get to see.
Because there was a lot. I mean, you got to see a lot, but there was a lot that was kind of being done, and stories around them and things like that were already in place. We just kind of hadn't got there yet.
Yep, absolutely. And we thought it would be a shame to just let that go to waste, and also, you know, fill in some gaps story-wise as well, because we never really got the ball rolling on that quite yet. Sadly, if I remember correctly, where we left off, just in front of us here, we left off pretty much as things were going to be made clear and our purpose was going to be divulged.
Revealed.
And yep, absolutely. And then that was it. It was going to be onwards to adventure.
And then a creeper came along and made this huge hole, and we were just like, you know what, that's fine.
Classic Zangetsu style. We come across something that we've spent hours building, and you find a creeper to blow it up.
Hey, it found me.
So, to start off, here we are in what was, and still is, the Dwarven area. This, initially, was a slightly similar to this area. It was just a hollowed out cave, and it went right the way through, and there was water on the other side. So what we did was it
was almost like a valley, was in some places.
Yeah.
I don't remember it having a roof.
Part of the roof. It did have, yeah, it was part roofed. As we fly up, we can see that, yeah, it kind of, the grass over here was kind of went along and then went back up over here. So it's kind of a U shape on that side, and then the same underneath it. I thought, what better location to have an area for dwarves than inside a mountain?
Because they love that.
They love that shit, they do. So we're going to take a gander inside, and you see large open space complete with lava lanterns and
random tracks.
First up on the right we have Ye Olde shop filled with all the essentials with correct labelling, I believe, still. So let's have a look. Iron, leather, gold and redstone, that's all there. So that was the first stop of our Dwarven journey. And then on the left hand side we have their workspace, I'd imagine.
Yeah, like the kind of
forges.
Forge,
yeah.
And again, very dwarvy.
Yep. You know, their dwarves are forever known for their being industrial.
We like our stereotypes.
Absolutely. And then, you know, kind of a mix, I guess, between fantasy, you know, an epic fantasy dwarven race and perhaps a more Disney-style dwarf, like, you know, hi-ho, hi-ho. We have a mine track system that would have delivered their ore and stuff that they would have mined from the excavation that is down there, along to the storage pillar in the centre that is
It's locked.
Protected by a magic seal. As you can see, impenetrable glass. Then on the far right hand side, we have their homes. Just cut into the rock. Communal living. And chest still with stuff in it. So the basic premise behind this area was that
it would be empty, like there wouldn't be any people here, pretty much.
Yes, absolutely. This would be completely deserted, as is. Perhaps a few monsters lurking around if we were lucky enough to have them spawn.
There was still the whole silver palm iconography thing following on, which was their, if you guys remember, it's like their religion, if you like. So you know that's still prominent, and you know I think the cakes on the table were kind of in various stages of being devoured, just to sort of show that it was almost abandoned in haste, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, that
a feast was interrupted. Sort of thing.
It was it was empty. There was no one around, and it was like, wow, this is kind of eerie, and we weren't really sure what would be going on. And we explore and not run into random zombies.
Zombie dwarf.
with, is that an afro?
Slightly Chinese-looking dwarf. So then we'd venture forth into the throne room, complete with red carpet and executive dining, and of course the throne. And at this point, we would have seen a nameplate.
We'd have introduced a new character.
Indeed, in through the carpet, we would have seen a nameplate, and having ventured round the sides and seeing no way in.
Well, technically two characters, if we're being honest.
Yes, yeah, technically two. And trapdoor on the side would lead to the king's safe house, or panic room, I guess. Would be
bolt hole or something. Yeah.
And the king, King Rockard, was going to be his name, and essentially he was going to have been gone mad through solitary confinement for however long since the attack.
Yeah, we came up with the idea that he, for some reason, just locked himself away and didn't come out until someone saved him, kind of thing.
And during this time, his bodyguards were killed or sacrificed and eaten, as seen, and he would have made his only friend a slime ball, which he would be holding in his hand, and
everyone needs someone to talk to, right?
And having a one-sided conversation with at all times. And as an ode to a very supportive friend, this particular slime ball was going to be named Bradders.
You know who you are.
So he would have then sent us, or given us information on how to get into the vault, the storage pillar, but not before he got something he wanted, which was, rather perversely, a diamond shower. And having introduced these two characters, spotting a third nameplate perhaps, or
like a familiar nameplate.
Yes.
Or there being some kind of dialogue or some introduction. I can't quite remember.
I can't remember how we were going to find her, but we'd come up here through the cathedral gardens and into the monastery. And in here we would find Mercurian.
Now, if you can't remember who she is, that was the character we met in the prison, and we originally travelled to the Nether with, who said that she'd have more information for us, but she had to go back home. She recognised the Silver Hand portal in the Nether, which symbolised obviously her people, her religion, and that kind of thing. And she, you know, it was kind of just one of these. She had to go and see what was going on. I think we're kind of going to flesh that out, that, you know, she'd gone when something was happening, and she had to get back, and obviously what would have been happening was possibly the people going missing.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps she left to seek help.
Yeah.
You know, with the attack imminent, and ended up being captured. And then we ended up rescuing her. And having found her here, she would then divulge a part of the prophecy, which is held in this chest, which would then set our journey in motion, really. And it would tell us how we would defeat Gargunza, which would be, we would have to collect a certain number of pages of a book, and upon completing the book, instead of it being some magic spell or something like that, it was simply going to beat him to death with the book.
Yeah, why not? You know. You wouldn't have seen that coming.
That would have been a nice
closed
like,
book.
John, there's nothing written on here. How are we supposed to defeat him? Just twat him with it. So that was the general idea on a more comical twist on a typical fantasy storyline. And then out back here we also have the dwarven village where they have all their livestock and grain supplies and whatnot. That was more just aesthetic extras, I would say.
Setting the scene as opposed to anything kind of
integrals to the story,
yeah.
Really, yeah. So after that, Mercurian would have advised us as well, after realizing that the king still lived and hearing the quest that he set upon us.
Kind of told us that he might be a little bit mad. Oh.
Yeah, I still got it. So he wanted a diamond shower. Now, where the hell are we going to find diamond? Well, you know, dwarves are famed for digging deep and greedily. Now, there are two passages. This one would have led to certain death. It would have been a long journey leading into a delicious pit of lava. We're just going to grab a minecart out so we can actually ride it down. So it's so going to like chase away from me or something, and I'll probably have to try a few times.
It just look like a muppet, and everyone's watching.
First time, like a sir. Oh,
nice.
There we go.
But this was the good track, and we kind of would have been given advice to, you know, be careful about the king's words and be warned, because he is quite mad and you can't really 100% trust what he says,
yeah,
or anything like that.
Yeah, so it would lead down to here, which is obviously a partly excavated area, and we'll just flip said switch and blow up said area to reveal,
hopefully. Yeah.
Just the right amount of TNT to reveal a buttload of diamonds. So, taking that out, then collect said diamonds and take them back to the king and spray upon his face
a shower of diamonds.
Indeed. On which he would divulge that the magical seal protecting the vault of information, which we needed to discover where we could find our first set of pages, or page, was in fact no magical seal at all. It was
mechanical in nature.
Indeed, a case of dwarven trickery. And the switch is right here. So, opening that up.
There was also, we were kind of playing around with the idea of him saying, you know, maybe it's not mechanical, maybe there is some magic to it, and by the time we'd come back up from the mine, he kind of would already have opened the doors and said, there you go, it's done, so we wouldn't have known that it was just a switch, and we'd kind of been you know, caught out by it, but in the end we were just like, wow, let's just go with it.
Yep. So we had level 1 storage. None of those chests were accessible. They're again just aesthetic. Same as this one. Yep. And here we have 2 chests. That one's the wrong way around. That's fine. And there would have been a map here that would have led to an area that we'll see later on. But firstly, we would have taken up this map. And upon inspection,
let's hope it still looks right.
Yep, looks about right. We would see that we are obviously that black dot in the middle, and that we needed to venture south and slightly east. So we shall go and do just that. So before we head off, though, there was one thing we needed to show you. When we were filming this initially,
way back when,
there was no access to the Nether, which is like the fiery world. There was no access to that on multiplayer. They hadn't adjusted the servers to allow that yet. So what we did was John took up on the task of creating a fake Nether, which we see located.
And it wasn't huge, but you know, it would have served the purpose.
Yeah, it would have been sizable enough for, you know, what we needed from it. So there'd have been a few portals scattered around.
We kind of had the idea back then. It was like, wouldn't it be cool if like the Nether acted as like a conduit of portals and things like that, where, you know, you could go from a portal in the actual world into the Nether and jump out somewhere else. But obviously we couldn't do that because the Nether wasn't accessible in multiplayer, so we were kind of just gonna, you know, fudge it and go through the portal and make it look like we'd appeared somewhere else.
Yeah.
But not long after that, it was a great idea. It
was fairly, I think it was mostly inspired by a game that we used to play as a family, called Asheron's Call.
That's right, yeah.
And in that game there was a series of portals scattered throughout the world in random locations that would obviously ease travel. But there was one kind of central hub, if you were, that had, you know, a dozen or so portals that led to the key locations.
Yeah, it was like Subway, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, Subway was the nickname the players gave it. And so we kind of drew inspiration from that and decided to implement something similar, and hence the Field of Portals was born, which actually worked out much better than we would have hoped it. We ever hoped it would have.